I have a theory on price action, and I've had this theory for a while now. And what it is that when London opens at 3 a.m., the market will move in one direction. And eventually, we reverse that move and start to head in the other direction, and we will do so until the New York Open. So now that I have Edgeful, I wanted to put some numbers to this theory and see if there's any truth to it, or if this is just something I was making up in my head. And check this out, because this is pretty awesome. So what we're looking at here is a price action report, specifically the orb, aka the opening range breakout. And in this example, what we're looking at is the 15-minute orb, or the 15-minute opening range breakout report. We're looking at NQ over the last 6 months. That's what I like to trade. And I made a custom session here, which is the London Open at 3 a.m. to the New York Open at 9:30 a.m. And if you're not familiar with what a orb strategy is, what we are looking at here is the 15-minute orb strategy. And what that means is from 3 a.m. to 3:15 a.m., the market will print us a orb high and an orb low. A breakout of the 15-minute orb would be a break above that gets continuation higher. A breakdown of the 15-minute orb would be a break below that gets continuation lower. Now we also have right here the double break. Price breaks above and below this orb, which is essentially what my theory is, that we make a move in one direction and then eventually price will make a move back to the other direction. And if you look at the stats over the last 6 months, you can see we get a breakout only 10% of the time. We get a breakdown almost 11% of the time, but we get a double break almost 80% of the time, meaning that my theory is extremely true. It happens almost 80% of the time. And I've started looking at specific chart examples of this. It holds up to these stats. So let's take a look at a couple chart examples in case you don't fully understand what I mean and how to use this 15-minute orb strategy. Let's take a look at some charts, break it down so you can see some real life examples. And just so you know, I did not have to look hard for these examples. I went back to the last couple of days, was able to find a long example that would have worked and able to find a short example that would have worked. So let's check them out. First up here, we have NQ on 8/8/2024, 3 a.m. This is the 15-minute chart. 3 a.m. we had the 15-minute orb, so we have our orb high, we have our orb low. We initially get the break lower. So now we're going to start to look for the market to give us an opportunity to take a long trade targeting the 15-minute orb high. Now you can see we get the move lower. We start to make the move back up. We do not get all the way back up to the orb high. We put in a lower high. We start to make the move lower, and all of a sudden the market gives us a nice potential higher low that triggers a buy setup. So you could enter longs here with the stop under the 15-minute low here, targeting the 15-minute orb high. And as you can see, we ended up holding, consolidating, and eventually making that move up higher. This may have been a news day because it looks like at 8:30 a.m. we got a big push up, but nonetheless, this is a real life chart example that just happened not all that long ago. Let's take a look at one more example here. All right, so we just looked at an example from 8/8/2024. Now let's take a look at the very next day, which would be 8/9/2024. So 3 a.m. right here, where this arrow is. This is our orb, 15-minute orb candle here. We put in our orb high and our orb low at this green and red line. Now these white lines here are actually the support and resistance levels that I would have had coming into the day. So on a 15-minute chart perspective, we break the orb high first. Now we start to come back down. Market doesn't really offer us a great opportunity or a great entry on the 15-minute chart all the way until about right here at 7:15 and 7:30 a.m. This gives us a nice, clean, potential lower high. And not only that, it lines up with my support and resistance level. So a 15-minute sell setup, potential lower high underneath a level with pretty tight stop right over top of these candles here, targeting the orb low here, and I also had a level here. So this was your initial target, take your trim, exit half, whatever it may be, hold for your support level down lower. You could have held for this whole move pretty easily. And if you switch this up to a 5-minute chart, you could have gotten an even earlier entry. So if we take a look at this on the 5-minute chart, you can see this was our 15-minute entry set up here, which still works out just fine. But if you are a little bit more of an aggressive trader, you could have taken this 5-minute sell setup right here. We had the move that went higher, it kind of consolidated. I mean, if you're really aggressive, you could take the first good reversal you wanted, but if that was the case, you would have taken this one underneath a level, looked like it should have been a good entry, and you would have eaten a stop. The market then started to break down, and so you don't have a change of trend, potential change of trend when this is happening, right? Because the market has a lower low, it makes a new higher high. This is just a potential higher low before we make a new high. So here we've made the new high, we make the move down. This gives us a higher low. We make another move up, which then fails to go higher, giving us a potential lower high. And this is really the first opportunity at a 5-minute trend change. So this is probably the better setup. That being said, you are above a level. So waiting for the 15-minute to trigger here would probably be the highest quality setup in terms of probability of the trade playing out. This one would have had a little bit of a tighter risk to reward because you could have a little bit of a tighter stop on the 5-minute chart. But anyway, that's 2 real life chart examples on this 3 a.m. 15-minute orb strategy. So if you are someone who's at your computer, you're at your desk early, and you see that we have broken the orb high and we've been going higher and we still haven't come down and tested that orb low, there's a good chance we're going to do it. In between 3 a.m. and 9:30 a.m., there's an 80% chance that we are going to reverse and come test that other end. So when you are trading, be aware of this, especially futures traders. When you're trading pre-market, be aware of this. Know that there's a likely chance that the price is going to come down, an 80% chance the price is going to come down to that 15-minute orb higher low. And those kinds of stats, in my opinion, that's a powerful ass stat. Now, this is only looking at the last 6 months. Let's back this up a little bit longer and see if it still stands up. So if we look at 1 year out, still a 76% chance we're going to come test the other side of the orb. If we back this up even further, let's go 3 years out. Over 3 years, there's still a 70% chance of the double break. So if you're in a pre-market trade, don't get too excited that the trend's going to continue all day. There's more likely a chance that we're going to come back and test the other end of that 15-minute orb. So keep that in mind, whether it's how you manage your trades pre-market or whether it's how you look for a trade. Super insightful stat, in my opinion, for somebody who likes to trade in between London and New York. And if we dive a little deeper into this, on Edgeful, check this out. You can look at by weekday. So same thing, 3 a.m. to 3:15. By weekday, we look at Mondays. On Mondays, you get the double break almost 85% of the time. Only get a breakout 7.69% of the time. Nice. And only get a breakdown 7.69% of the time. Also nice. But 85% of the time on Mondays. Let's see what Tuesdays is. Tuesdays, 88% of the time over the last 6 months. 88% of the time you will get a double break. Guys, on Tuesdays from 3:15 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., if price has only broken one side of the 15-minute orb, I beg of you, take a trade targeting the other side of that orb. It's going to hit 88% of the time. Let's look at Wednesday. Wednesday, 73%. Breakouts more frequent on Wednesdays. Interesting. Still solid numbers. Thursday, 69% of the time. Nice. So Thursday is the day that if you're looking for a breakout over the last 6 months, Thursday has been the day. Almost 25% of the time. 23.8% of the time we've gotten breakouts on Thursdays specifically. And that's 69% has been the lowest double break day. And Friday, also 80% low. Don't look for a breakout on Friday, apparently. But the breakdowns increase on Friday to 16%. But, standard, you can see this. This is pretty much a trade thesis that if you can find a solid entry, will work 80% of the time. That is some useful trading statistics, in my opinion. I do think a lot of trading is it's much more of an art than it is a science. But when you have these numbers that are this lopsided, and if you then can combine that with some reasonable skills on price action and how charts move, if you can combine those two things, I mean, that's a trade. Like I literally think I'm going to try to adjust my trading almost all around this. You could be done trading by 9:30 a.m. every day with a very high win rate. So yeah, I'll let you guys know. I'll update how this goes, but looks pretty insightful from Edgeful to me. Hopefully you guys learned something from this. I hope you guys found this useful, helpful, and it's something that you are able to apply to your trading. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, a share it with your friends, show them this strategy so they can check it out for themselves, and make sure you're following Risk Life News on all social platforms. Talk to you guys soon.